Good day, everyone. Listen up, eyes forward, settle down. We're going to lighten things up a bit this week with some Dr. Bright restrictions. Now, it should go without saying, but please never do any of these. As always, we extend our gratitude to the council and administrators, a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll get started. Ridge have sent me some new wallets, and I am all over this new Tiki one. The Tiki is my new favourite wallet, but before that, I used this. And to be honest with you, it mostly just created an awkward bulge. All those receipts, coins, and unused cards. However, the Ridge wallet can organise and hold up to 12 cards and hold cash via a clipple band on the back. They've got dozens of colours and styles such as the Tiki, Forged Carbon, and Gunmetal. They come with a lifetime warranty and a 45-day money-back guarantee, and the icing on the wedding cake is it blocks your contactless signal, so you can't get digitally pickpocketed. It's certainly comforting to know all my cards in cash are nicely organised for when I need them. Treat yourself today, use that link below, and you'll get a lovely 10% discount. Thank you, Rich, and let's begin. Rule 151. Dr. Bright has not won the internet, and is not authorised to declare that any other individual has done so, nor is he allowed to claim or distribute instances of SCP-335 under said premise. Rule 152. Dr. Bright is not to show junior staffers his cutie mark. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-137 on any Hasbro product. Rule 153. Dr. Bright is not allowed to take SCP-1187 for a morning ride. Rule 154. Dr. Bright is not allowed to submit any incident reports to the Darwin Awards, not even if you are sure it would win. Rule 155. Dr. Bright is not allowed to teach SCP-1370 to play multiplayer video games. It was not an improvement giving it the vocabulary of the average preteen player, or introducing it to the concept of teabagging. Rule 156. The iPods do not need hats, bow ties, or any other form of clothing. Rule 157. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use expunged data in SCP reports as Mad Libs. Rule 158. Robo-Dude is not a piece of the broken god. Rule 159. Dr. Bright is not allowed to create an anatomically correct body pillow modelled after SCP-173, 105, 999J, 0762, or Dr. Crow. Rule 160. The following are not appropriate sources for D-Class personnel: temp agencies, Craigslist, reality show talent pools, Jerry Springer, orphans, urchins, ragamuffins, those sons of bitches who scratched up my paint job at the car wash, ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, ex-partners of any gender variation whatsoever, staff members' in-laws, YouTube comment threads, forum trolls, angsty teens. Bad applications to the SCP 2 exceptions have been made, but the rest are off limits. Occupy Wall Street, the Tea Party, the Green Party, the Green Party, the Gathering of the Juggle. How the fuck do they work? Rule 161. The following items are not SCPs: rainbows, double rainbows, rain booms, whether sonic or otherwise, the tides, the moon, fucking magnets, rocks that skip 3 times before they go underwater, soy cheese, hippies, hipsters, MILFs, G-MILFs, GG-MILFs, actual funny SNL skits. As these do not exist, they cannot be SCPs. Anyone's breasts, people who can solve Rubik's Cubes of any size, shiny, any Pokemon at all. Rule 162. Nobody ever refers to Dr. Bright as Tim, and he is no longer allowed to introduce new personnel to SCP-524. Rule 163. The platypus is not an SCP. No, really. No, not even an EX. Rule 164. Dr. Bright is not allowed to test internet creepypasta rights using Class D personnel. Rule 165. SCP-963 is not a Millennium item. Rule 166. Dr. Bright should refrain from trying to convince SCP-237 to become a brony, not even to improve his disposition. For that matter, trying to make SCP-042 a brony will just make things worse. Rule 167. Putting an equine no matter how small through SCP-914 on very fine again is strictly forbidden, and no, you cannot keep it. Rule 168. The answer to a containment breach is never to recruit a team of teenagers with attitude, or to send 5 rings to 5 special young people, or to ask junior staffers if they are bad enough dudes to contain the breach. Rule 169. Dr. Bright is not allowed to claim he has been trained to conquer galaxies. Rule 170. Dr. Bright may not attempt to neutralize SCP-682 using the power of friendship, the power of love, or any other sort of power which has not been proven to actually exist. Rule 171. Dr. Bright does not remind anyone of the babe of the power of voodoo, and is not allowed to tell anyone else that they remind him of the same. Rule 172. The Chaos Insurgency has no interest in summoning daemons to the material universe to serve the ruinous powers of chaos, and therefore Dr. Bright is not permitted to inform new researchers otherwise. Rule 173. Dr. Bright is not allowed to write a SCP-582 account in order to deal with junior staff members who get on his nerves. Rule 174. Dr. Bright is not allowed to stick refrigerator magnets to any magnetic objects within Foundation control. Rule 175. SCP-1916 only works if administered orally. We know this. There is no reason to test further Dr. Bright. Rule 176. Why not is not considered authorization for SCP cross-testing. Rule 177. The Foundation has no mobile task force dedicated to the capture and containment of forum trolls. Dr. Bright is not allowed to found a new mobile task force dedicated to the capture and containment of forum trolls. Rule 178. The Serpent's Hand is not a synonym for masturbation. Rule 179. Yo mama is not so ugly SCP-096 didn't look at her. Rule 180. SCP-173 is not a babysitter. Having SCP-173 play Where's the Baby is downright cruel, not, as Dr. Bright claims, fucking hilarious. Rule 181. Dr. Bright is no longer invited to the annual Foundation holiday party. Dr. Bright is not allowed to host his own Foundation holiday party. The Foundation holiday party is cancelled indefinitely. Rule 182. SCP-682 does not have a Wondertainment logo stamped on its upper palate, or on its posterior. Rule 183. Playing the song Thriller in the presence of SCP-008 victims is expressly forbidden. Letting out SCP-008 victims and punching them to simulate Minecraft is also forbidden. Pushing several agents in front of SCP-008 victims to simulate Resident Evil is not a valid excuse either. Dr. Bright is no longer allowed near victims of SCP-008. Rule 184. SCP-682 will not be sated by the ritual sacrifice of a virgin. Rule 185. Filming, directing, or performing in celebrity sex tapes are not appropriate work assignments for Mr. Deeds. Rule 186. Anything involving the words elephant sauce. Site-19 is still recovering from the last incident. Rule 187. I like a little junk in the trunk is not valid authorization to feed SCP-1575-1 to an elephant. Rule 188. Dr. Bright is under no circumstances to attempt possession of SCP-682. Rule 189. I touched SCP-1453 a little while ago is not a valid excuse for any containment breach. Rule 190. No shirt, no shoes, no service does not imply that pants and undergarments are not required parts of the dress code. Doubly so, since no shirt, no shoes, no service is not a part of any official Foundation dress code. Rule 191. Dr. Bright is not to use this list as a resume. Rule 192. Dr. Bright may not begin his sentences with "thou shalt not," especially in the presence of SCP-343. Rule 193. Use of any number of negatives to obtain security clearance will result in swift punishment. Rule 194. Dr. Bright is not allowed to recreate any experiments seen on the television program Mythbusters using any SCP, especially not if he can do it better. Rule 195. Regardless of whether or not it exists, Dr. Bright certainly does not enjoy diplomatic immunity as the local consul of the Islamic Republic of Eastern Samothrace. Rule 196. Dr. Bright is not allowed to put SCP-278 into SCP-914 on course, so I can learn to make more of them. Rule 197. Dr. Bright is not allowed to relocate SCP-079 onto any form of high-capacity data storage device. Rule 198. SCP-1156 is not Dr. Bright's royal steed. Rule 199. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-1543-J to launch SCP-727-J into itself again. And Rule 200. Even if Dr. Bright is wearing an eye patch, he is not allowed to keelhaul anyone, not even on Talk Like a Pirate Day. Talk Like a Pirate Day is not allowed to be celebrated at Site Blank. Any personnel violating this rule will be severely disciplined. There is no such thing as Talk Like a Ninja Day, and Dr. Bright is not allowed to create it. Bonus rules. Rule number 1. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-1908 for any of the following reasons: cleaning laundry, taking a bath, cleaning SCP-173, cleaning SCP-682, cleaning any other SCP. In fact, Dr. Bright is not allowed unsupervised access to SCP-1908 at any time. Rule number 2. Dr. Bright is not allowed to drive the Foundation bus, say seatbelts everyone, and start cruising on down Main Street. Rule number 3. Dr. Bright is not allowed to swap the cafeteria candy bowl with SCP-330. Rule number 4. Dr. Bright is not allowed to make a clone of himself and name it Dr. Dark. Rule number 5. Dr. Bright is not allowed to say rules are made to be broken and then purposefully break a rule in this list. Rule number 6. Dr. Bright is not allowed to host any kind of meal, banquet or fish fry and serve SCP-098. Rule number 7. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use any SCP to resurrect a dead dictator, again, even if he intends to bring them to justice. Rule number 8. Dr. Bright is not allowed to create and publish any TikTok videos featuring any SCPs, especially not SCP-096. Dr. Bright is not allowed to give SCPs TikTok accounts. SCP-049 is not allowed to claim he is a real doctor on TikTok. Rule number 9. Dr. Bright is not allowed to go anywhere near SCP-187 with any D-Class personnel for the reason of holding a get-together to make her feel welcome. Rule number 10. Dr. Bright is not allowed any further unsupervised access to SCP-919, asking SCP-919, mirror mirror on the wall who's the brightest of them all, and then asking, do these pants make my ass look fat, is highly inappropriate. Rule number 11. Dr. Bright is not allowed to claim that SCP-008 instances are the zombies from Call of Duty. We also do not have the damn ray gun or the Wunderwaffe. Rule number 12. Dr. Bright is only allowed to claim being a world record holder if he specifies that said record is for deportation orders. Rule number 13. Dr. Bright is not allowed to bring a bowl of SCP-504 to any comedy club to weed out terrible comedy. That Amy Schumer show was a disaster, in so many ways. Rule number 14. Dr. Bright is not allowed access to SCP-166 or any of her records or documentation regardless of the gender of his host. Dr. Clef saw the pictures you had of her on your computer. Rule number 15. Dr. Bright is not allowed to play the Red Dead Redemption 2 house building theme song over the speakers while D-Class clean SCP-173's containment chamber. Rule number 16. Dr. Bright is not allowed to play any Mario Kart theme song and then have SCP-131 race around the site, especially not Coconut Mall. Rule number 17. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use anomalies to invent faster than light travel so that he can make those space sims a reality. Rule number 18. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use any reptilian or amphibious SCP to promote his own version of Gatorland, nor can he use them to become the ultimate Florida man. Do you really think we would allow something that stupid to happen? Rule number 19. Dr. Bright is not allowed to challenge D-Class personnel to play charades using information from the document. Rule number 20. Dr. Bright isn't allowed to grab onto SCP-507 so he can explore other dimensions. SCP-507 is authorized to shoot Dr. Bright with rubber bullets if he tries this again. Rule number 21. Dr. Bright is not allowed to start up a Foundation theatrical troupe. We know you're trying to do a production of the Han King's tragedy. Stop it. Rule number 22. Dr. Bright is not allowed to commission killer animatronics like the ones in Five Nights at Freddy's from Anderson Robotics. Rule number 23. Dr. Bright is not allowed to use SCP-184 to create a super duper cool office. Rule number 24. Dr. Bright is not allowed to refer to Procedure 110 Montauk as the babysitting, nor is he allowed to refer to the father of SCP-231-7 as the Scarlet Donkey. And rule number 25. Dr. Bright is not allowed to create any anomalous art. Art is an expression, not an explosion. And with that, the presentation is over. I hope you all had a chuckle. I'll see you all again in a few days when we discuss SCP-3464. Thank you one and all to the patrons and members who keep the presentations coming. Do consider joining them. And special thanks to Rick Trexon, Generals Alert, Sam B, JT Walker, Horizons, Dr. Soup, Jax Merrick Alexander, Number of the East, Dr. Rome, Fallen Angel and Bent. Big thanks to the council members Arctoast, Kibara, Lenhox Captain Core, Hunter Killer, Tree, Arctos, Romulus the Commissar, Cat Clone, Pepperfish, Arbiter Soul, Kilo and Bob. And huge thanks to the administrators Viger, Kamana, Panzer, Wunderschnell and A15 Demon Snake. Thank you all for watching, I will see you all soon, and take care.